everybody. This is Wendy Lovejoy of the YellowLetterMentoring.com, and today we are doing a training real estate, and my goal is to always start with your mindset. I am Wendy Lovejoy, and I've been in real estate for at least 25 years. And as you've heard over and over, I've raised my kids on real estate. I've trained a lot of people because of real estate. I just love the life that real estate investing offers you. And so as you can see, I'm wearing a hat, and I wanted you to focus on this hat and also the sign behind me. So I specifically chose to sit here because the sign behind me is what I use to train my children on. If you can look, it's Hosea 1:9, and it says, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid." Okay, do not be afraid or discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. And by training my kids to really believe that saying, not to be afraid of wherever it is that God has instructed them to go. And I see Duke Eli, thank you. I see Vanessa Mitchell, hi sweetheart. And as people continue to join, I don't always see the names, but I appreciate you being here. Because one thing I know is real estate. I love real estate. Thank you very much. So the sign is what I use to empower my children. By empowering my children and letting them hang out in the real estate office and come with me to do real estate investments. You happen to, if you follow a gentleman on Instagram, this is his tagline, his business line, real estate is power. That is my son Anthony, and even though he gives me hats like these, I actually go purchase hats from him, and he gets mad at me, but I believe in sewing into people. So I will, just go to PayPal or Cash App or Zelly and send the price for the hats, because what I do with these hats is I use them when I'm door knocking, and so people know I'm there for real estate. He has caps, hats, and he's doing t-shirts as well. I just, I think one of the things that I want to talk about tonight is just the fear factor of starting in this thing called real estate. And when I think back about 25 to about 28 years ago when I got started, I think I was the most scaredest person you could think of getting into this arena, because so much depended on me succeeding at that time. And I knew nothing about real estate, but I knew that the people that were living the life I wanted my children to live and my family to experience, I knew I had to master real estate. And so I've shared the story over and over, so I'm going to give you the capsulized version. I not only studied real estate investing, and one of my friends, she was my best friend the early ages of my children's life, and then we had a trajectory in her life that kind of moved her in a different direction, and we didn't see each other for over 20 years. And she reminded me, she said, "No, that was not your first property. Before you had your daughter, you were investing in property. Do you remember while you lived in Miami, you invested in a property near the school, which I used creative financing to purchase it?" And I'm going to share some of those techniques tonight, but I really always want to start with your mindset, because for me, knowing that I had 3 children that were, pretty much in Pampers, not really talking, not even in school yet, so I couldn't drop them off to school and then go do my real estate. They were in Pampers pretty much, and I was taking them to listing appointments with me. And I found that the listing appointments made some money But the thing that got me financially successful, where I was able to send them to private school all their life, to give them vacations like Martha's Vineyard every summer, leave them there with the housekeeper, go back and travel, go to Paris if I wanted, go to, London if I wanted, South Africa if I wanted, Nigeria, wherever, was real estate that I owned and held on to. So I always encourage people, not only should you be running your real estate business like a business, but you should have some goals that you set for yourself. And some of the goals that you set for yourself should include people that are going to hold you accountable to attaining those goals. Because sometimes when you're starting something new in life and you're going into an arena where you may not even know the people in that arena, or you don't have people in your family that know real estate. For me, I was the only person in my family that ever thought of going into real estate. Even though I came from a family that, most third world countries, if you have a home, you own it outright. You've built it, you purchased the land, you built it. So my family had that in our heritage, in our genealogy, but there was nobody that got into real estate as an agent, as an investor in America. I was the first person in my family to do that. So I couldn't come home and talk to people about real estate. I didn't have family members I could call about real estate. However, when they saw the life I was affording my family, then they would come and ask me questions. And if I had not surrounded myself, one of the best things that was told to me was, you have to find new people. You have to find a new group of people. You have to connect yourself with people that are doing the things that you want to do, or where you are trying to head. And so I found every type of real estate organization. But the first thing I did was I read the book that taught me about real estate investing. And so I've mentioned before, I then invested my money to go to the grandfather of this. He was just starting this mindset of no money down real estate investing, but it took money to go to his conference. However, the things that I learned had to really shift my mindset. And the strongest thing that was done for me, the most powerful thing that was done for me, was not the worksheets, the learning the letters to send, learning the scripts. It was the shift of my mindset. That is so important. You've got to change the way you think. This is why I do a prayer call on Mondays and then the real estate on Tuesdays. And some people follow me through Durbin's Daughters, so we're shifting their thinking by teaching them biblical scriptures and just teaching them to speak to themselves differently, to focus on things differently. Because when I got into real estate, I was in a very broken space, and everything around me was not, I had nothing. And so, I knew real estate would change my life, but I was also thinking wrong. I had never had to take care of myself before that moment. And so now, not only do I have to take care of myself, I got to take care of 3 children and my mother. Those were the 4 people I needed to take care of. And of course, my now ex-husband, I had to take care of him to some extent. And so, I had a lot of stuff on my plate. And I knew I had to focus on real estate. And so one of the greatest things that was done for me is when Robert Allen decided that I didn't know how to ask people for what I want. And so very early in the morning, I was dumped downtown San Diego in front of the Burger King, which is like the main street down there. I was given a small coffee cup, like the small size if you go to any store to buy coffee. And I was told, you have to fill it up before you come back. And you guys may say, well, why is she telling us this? It's got nothing to do with real estate. It does. Your mindset, because one of the things you have to learn in real estate is how to ask for stuff, not demand it, not force numbers on people, not push people to do what you want them to do, but how to ask for stuff. So that was the greatest lesson that I learned starting out in real estate. I was so afraid to ask for anything because before that point, my husband took care of everything. All I had to do was say, I want this color in the bedroom. I want to live in this neighborhood. I want to drive a car that's like that. I want to wear clothes like that. And so he took care of everything. If I said I want to go buy food, the money was given to me or somebody was sent to go buy it. I didn't have to think of what I needed to, like even, go ask somebody, will you accept my offer? You have to learn how to ask people for what you want. So that's the first thing I would encourage you, is to get a paradigm shift of what real estate is all about. It is not about just numbers. It is not about, just forcing people. I see so many gurus, and I don't want people to title me a guru, because I find that a lot of gurus are just pushing numbers on people and products. I want you to understand the concept of real estate investing. And so it starts with your mindset. I can give you the scripts. If you've seen our workbook, it has a lot of information, and it also has a lot about your mindset. It also has scripts and dialogues and, the process of a wholesale deal, where to get your contracts. We give you contracts. Everything you need is in that book. But even that will not help you if you don't do the work of changing how you think about yourself, how you think about your, the audience that you are looking to market to, whether it's postcards, yellow letters, whether you're going to door knock, you're going to look for people in foreclosure. You've got to be confident enough in who you are to be able to speak to these people. And I think sometimes people forget that, and they ignore the fact that you have to master talking with people. The other thing you have to do is set some goals. You got into real estate for what? I was talking to a gentleman today. I actually went to Office Depot, and a gentleman overheard me speaking to the gentleman who was making copies for me for a book that I'm writing. And he asked me, he said, you're pretty smart. I'm overhearing your conversation. Could you help me? I'm trying to start a business, and you sound very business minded. And I said, well, what is your intention with the business you're telling me about? And he said, I want to leave a legacy for my children that's going to have them live on and on. And I said, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but what if your children don't want that business? What if your children, you don't make enough money to leave a true legacy? You mentioned 3 children to me. If none of them want to take over your business, now what? But the thing is, if you have 3 children, they're going to have to live somewhere. If you have 3 children, and let's say they want to go to college, now they got to sell the one house that the family grew up in and fight over who's going to get how much from it. But what if you got 3 houses, one for each child to live in? And then what if you were able to get 2 houses for each child? And now the second house, when they decide they want to go to college, or when they send their children to college, now they can sell that house or refinance it, pull cash out, and now they can go to college and not worry about grants. We're actually right now in the process of, my grandson has 2 tutors that come in twice, actually it's about 3 times a week, to get him ready for his SATs. There's no shortcuts. That takes an investment of money and investment of time. If we had jobs, his father and myself, we couldn't be there for him when he's making these appointments. We couldn't afford to make sure there's a tutor coming in to help him to that. And even though he's smart enough to get grants, but if he wasn't, it wouldn't be an issue to send him to college because of real estate. So I want you to change your mind about real estate. It is not just about the house, or you got to really connect why you want to get this real estate done. And so you got to have your why. So the first thing is you want to change your thinking, and then you want to have a why as to why you want to get into real estate and do this. And then 2, you have to set goals. You have to set goals. So I always learned when I was in real estate as an agent, my most favorite trainer was Mike Ferry, because he was to the point, he's aggressive, and most people now know his son Tom Ferry, but Mike Ferry always said, what does it cost to be you? And the first time he asked me that, I had no clue what he meant. But what he was basically saying is, the life you live, what does it cost to live that life? So I basically had to add up my mortgage, I never believed in car notes. I was always taught, go pay off the car and then drive it off the lot because it's going to lose value. Then later on in life, I was taught it's better to lease a car. I was taught that it's finance the car and let your business pay for it, or your tenants pay for it. So there's so many different ways of getting a car. But the thing that I was taught is, you've got to add up all your bills. And then also, a bill is what you want to save every month. Add that in there. Add how much times you want to get your hair done, how many times you want to go get a manicure, how many times you want to go to the movies. Do you want to go to Highline restaurants? One of the greatest things that was done for me is every time I went to a Mike Ferry conference, he stretched us. He made us go and find the most expensive car dealer, go to the car dealer, sit in the car, smell the car, create memories in the car, experiences in the car. If you were driving a car like that, where would you go? What places would you hang out in? Who would be in the passenger seat with you? You envision this until your body, all five senses can feel that car, and then do the same thing. Go to the most expensive neighborhoods. My favorite experience is when I first moved to Atlanta, Georgia. I remember one of my sisters, she was in Atlanta. Two of my sisters were in Atlanta before me, but my youngest sister, I said to her, and her now, it's her husband, but it was her boyfriend at the time, I said, take me to the most expensive neighborhoods in Atlanta, Georgia, and then, let's go in, and I want to see what the houses look like. I'm going to own one of those. And I remember we drove to a few, but when we got to Sugarloaf Country Club, they said, no, can't come in here. And I said, why? Just please, we just want to see a house that's for sale. And they said, no, if you don't live here, you don't have a real estate appointment, you don't have an agent meeting you, you can't come in. And I told my sister and her then boyfriends, just stop for a minute, pull over to the side. And I took in the smell of Sugarloaf Country Club. I watched the cars going in and out, and I began to envision myself in that neighborhood, going in and out, being friends with the gate guys, and just envisioning. And not even a year later, the opportunity came, and I was able to get a property in that subdivision at a discount. So it's so important to stop racing and slow down and mind map your life. Envision where you want to take yourself in life. So you got to set goals, and one of them is to first add up your bills, but also add up what is it going to take to live the life you feel you've dreamed of. That's why I say, don't be afraid to go anywhere. God is with you. Don't be discouraged. Don't get focused on what's not good in your life right now, but you want to focus on where you're headed. So always add up, and don't look at, oh my God, I can't do this. Doesn't she know I can't even afford my rent yet? If what you focus on is what you will have, I want you to focus on where you want to end up. And I thank Mike Ferry for teaching us that. He made us always go to the most expensive restaurants. And I remember when the first conference I came to with him in Atlanta, Georgia, this was in the mid-90s. I hadn't moved to Atlanta yet, and I was still living in New York. Now I go both places, but at that time, he had us go to then Underground and find the most expensive boutique, and I had to come back with at least 5 suits from that boutique. Like, those things stretched you. And that's why I say, don't focus so much on the noises of the world. Focus on creating the life you want, setting some goals, and then connect yourself, surround yourself with people that will hold you accountable. You have to also think of, your goals as being accomplishable. Like, you can make these goals happen. So once you set up a goal, and let's say what you want to live is $5,000 a month. Then you would look at, well, if I'm a bird dog and I'm getting 500 to 1,000 a deal, how many deals do I have to do a month? Now, the more deals you want to do a month, the bigger your team has to be. The more deals you want to do a month, the more you have to change and become a person that can lead a team, that also can be submitted to team and coachable, and somebody that's willing to open up to new information. So, and then when you accomplish the first part of your goal, let's say your goal is you want to do maybe 5 wholesale deals a month. And this way you're making $500 to $1,000 a month. If you close 5 of them, that's $5,000 right there. So now to close 5 deals, you need to have more than 5 in contract, or you have to do 5 deals that are going to give you more than $1,000. So there's so many ways to play around with the numbers. Put your time there. Once you create the numbers you want, now you've got to create a system, which means you've got to market. You've got to go do either yellow letters, you got to either do postcards, you got to go door knocking, you've got to strengthen yourself. You can find deals on Craigslist, you can find deals on Zillow, you can find deals and everywhere. The point is you've got to have a system to find deals. That's the next thing you want to implement. So once you put that system in place, give yourself a pat on the back. Have an extra cup of coffee. Eat a bigger donut. Just take time to reward yourself for having accomplished the first step. I know for me, I wanted to get on a very expensive coaching program this year. I believe in mentors and coaching. I invest a lot of money being mentored by different types of mentors. If I'm in real estate, I don't look for 10 real estate mentors. I'll get a real estate mentor, a business mentor, a person that's going to show me how to write books better, maybe a mentor in marketing. But I don't get people that have 10, 20. Every time a new real estate person comes into town, they follow that, they drop what they're doing, they invest in another program, but they don't do the work. It's the work that's going to change your income. So once you make up your mind that you've invested in it, you've set some goals in what you want to invest in, whether it's a list for your postcards, a list for your letters. Once you invest in that list, take time to give yourself a pat on the back. And so for me, when I got paid the money for this program, which is pretty substantial, I literally took a time and, I had a nice little glass of wine and, I ate a half a bowl of barbecue chips and I just savored the moment. And I just thanked and prayed and I was just grateful, not just because of the money that was put out, but that I got a seat in this particular group, because this mentor, like myself, doesn't accept everybody. And so when you accomplish something you want, take time to let your brain experience it. Have a nicer, longer, bath with some lavender water so you can relax yourself. And then this way, when challenges come, you won't hold on to them like most people do, because anytime you're in business, you're going to experience some challenges. Some of the challenges in real estate is, you got to keep your marketing up. Some people, they spend all their money to get into the program, but they don't put money aside for their marketing. That's not going to help you. You have to put money aside for your marketing. Hey, Tamerlene, you got to put money aside for your marketing. So, excuse me, when people say they want to join our program, one of the things I do is I personally want to speak to them to see if they're people that are going to do the work, or we don't want them to join the program. But we also let them know this are your options for the payment. However, you've got to have a marketing budget. It can be $50, $100, $5,000, but it's got to be consistent. If you're doing, let's say, postcards, you can have a company mail out your postcards. That is a budget. You can't do 5,000 postcards this month because you got some money, and then next month you do no postcards, because when you do that many postcards, you're going to get calls, but then you've not taken the time to master it. In our program, we encourage people to do like 50 letters a week. So, because there's so many other, things that you've got to balance. There's so many other moving parts to real estate investing that we want you to balance it out. You've got to change who you are, because who you are got you to where you are. But you've got to become somebody different to go to the places that you want to go. And so we are helping you change your mindset, change your thinking, change how you use your 24 hours and things of that sort. And then you are also learning what to say when people call you back. I had a gentleman that did like over 1,000 postcards, and then when people started calling him back, he didn't know what to do. And so he saw one of these lives, he joined the program, and we shared with him what he should say. And then he ended up closing a deal for over $90,000, his first deal. Because when the way our program is set up is we work with you one-on-one to see what are your weaknesses. Everybody leaves the gate the same way. You want to change your life, you want your why, but you want to master real estate investing. And so one of the things you're going to need to learn is what to say when people start calling you back. So if you send out 1,000 postcards and let's say 200 people call you back, what are you going to say? But what if you had, 5 people call you back this week, and then maybe 7 call you back next week? Now your strength is growing in what you should say, and your confidence level is growing. You don't want to waste your money investing in a huge budget of marketing, and now you're not really even benefiting from the callbacks or the people that are in situations you don't even know how to handle them. So those are the things you want to look at in your business. What are your challenges? What is challenging you right now? Some of the challenges maybe you don't know how to work with the real estate agent to help you get deals. Maybe your challenge is you don't know how to evaluate a property. Maybe your challenge is you don't know what to say when they call you back. These are all challenges that you need to master, a little bit at a time, not all at one time. And so you may not even have a buyer's list. You may not have an exit strategy for the deals that you come across. So those are the things you want to look at. And then you need an action plan. One of my family members likes to go to, let's say, McDonald's to write their letters. I like to pick a show that I like and then write my letters as I'm listening to something positive in the background, and I time myself that I still do my own letters. Some people like postcards. Do what works for you. And then one of the goals I would encourage you to create for yourself is to own some real estate. One of the greatest things that you can do in your journey of mastering real estate is to own property. I would be so afraid to buy shoes from somebody who's barefooted. Like if somebody walked to work with no shoes every week and they're coming to the shoe store, but they're trying to sell me shoes and they don't have a pair themselves, and they're not even telling me, you know what, I don't have money to buy the shoes right now, but it's in my game plan. Come back and catch me in 2 weeks. I'm going to have some really nice shoes on my feet. Now I'm motivated to kind of work with them. But you've got to have a goal, because one of the things, it's not just for yourself that you want to own the home, but your experience of what it took for you to get that home. It's going to be easier for you to relate to people in situations when it comes to you talking to them about their own home. So that should be a goal you want to have. And then you want to have some real estate investments, because when you have real estate investments, you can have real estate investments, and let's say, look at the smallest bill you have. Maybe the real estate investment that you have can replace a bill. Maybe your car note is $400 a month. If you had a rental that was giving you positive cash flow of $400, now you don't go have to work another 40 hours to make that car note. What if you had a few properties and they were giving you $1,000 a month, but your house rent is $800? Now you have rental property covering your rent. Or what if you purchased a 3-bedroom with a mother-daughter suite? So there's a 1-bedroom apartment, and now you could live in the 1-bedroom because maybe you don't have family yet, and rent out the 3-bedroom side of it. There's so many options when you are in real estate. One of my students is living with somebody right now, has good credit, good cash flow, has a really excellent job, but never thought they could own. And because they just felt like, my job doesn't allow this. But when we show them why they needed to own, they're focusing on rental income because they're comfortable living with family. But there's going to come a day when that comfort may change, and now you have other options. So I encourage you to think about owning your own property. And we talked last week about bird dog wholesaling and different ways of wholesaling. If you're going to wholesale real estate, have a dollar figure in mind of what you're going to do. And then look at your business right now. Do you have any deals in the pipeline?